Okay, and we're recording. So, I would like to welcome everybody to our what you would normally see as a learn to play from Foxfire Studios and Valkyrie Gaming. But as you see today, things are a little bit different. For one, we're playing on a Thursday, and some of us are supposed to be at work. I said, no, this is more fun. And you could see a few of the Green Ronin crew with us. We'll get around to introducing them all in a minute here. I'll just go through my usual spiel. So for those of you who are used to the stream, you'll know that our stream is a Learn to Play series that's aimed at players who want to sell a game to their GM and for GMs who want to sell a game to their players. We're actually here to help people learn the game through play and maybe troubleshoot issues in player creation or mechanics. So today we will be playing Blu Rose by Green Ronin Games. And before we get into that a little bit more, so typically how these work is they are broken down into essentially 3 sessions. We'll have character creation, and then the other 2 sessions will be set aside for the adventure itself. But since this is going to be a one-shot deal, a special occasion, we'll just be having this one game. Normally we'll be walking through a basic adventure, which I think we'll be doing now, covering off the rules of play within the setting. And being as this is a teaching game, we'll also be going through play at a bit of a slower pace to make sure that we get the rules and the flow down. And if at any time the players or viewers who are watching live on Twitch have questions about the rules that we just walked through, let us know in the chat. A few of us will be keeping our eyes on there as we go through. For those of you who are watching afterwards on a rerun or on YouTube, throw your questions in the chat or comments or join us on the Discord, which should be popping up in the chat now, and will also be available on the YouTube show notes. Throw your questions in there, and we'll get to them when we see them pop up. In the center of the screen, right below Joe, we have our fancy Discord dice roller this time. This one I made myself and is available on the Green Ronin Discord, which I'll throw a link in the chat for that Discord in a few minutes. And then any ambient music that you may or may not hear is done by Tabletop Audio. So that is my bit said. I'm going to hand everything off to Joe.
All right. Thank you so much, Charlotte.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Charlotte.
So my name is Joseph Carriker. I am the staff developer for the Blu Rose age role-playing line through Green Ronin Publishing. My pronouns are he, him, and I can be found on Twitter at Oakthorne. That's OAKTHORNE, all one word. I'm also a sort of a part-time kind of a beginning novelist. I've written one Blu Rose novel by the title of Shadow Tide, which is out now, as well as a novel about a team of queer superheroes called Sacred Bang. And then I'm going to go around the virtual table, as it were, and ask my players to introduce themselves as well, including your pronouns and social media, please. Nicole?
I am Nicole Lindroos. I'm a general manager and co-owner of Green Ronin, and my pronouns are she, her. That's me. Here I am.
All right, Troy.
Hey, folks, I'm Troy Hewitt. I am kind of the community communications nerd for Green Ronin, and I'm also Deputy Communications Director for Brand New Congress. And my pronouns, he, him. I happen to be hanging out with 2 of my bosses today. I've got, and then also Charlotte, who bosses me around all the time. But I have Nicole at Green Ronin, and then I have Zana Day, who's joined us, and she's my boss at Brand New Congress.
And Zana?
Hey guys, my name is Zana Day. I am brand new to this, so I'm very excited to join all of you guys, and thanks for the invite. I am Communications Director at Brand New Congress. I help congressional candidates get elected to office, so that's a lot of fun. And my Twitter handle is Zainab, Zeynab, Day, Zainab Day. And my Facebook is just Zana Day, and there's only 2 of us out there in the world, I think, with that name, so I'm easy to find there. But again, thank you guys so much for inviting me to this.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. So I want to talk a little bit about Blu Rose and the sort of genre of fantasy that Blu Rose is. We usually tell people that unlike a lot of other fantasy role-playing games out there, Blu Rose is in the genre of romantic fantasy, which is a style of fantasy that has just as much magic and monsters and all the rest of that. Except what differentiates it from a lot of other fantasy is that, in particular, the relationships that characters create, despite the name, it's not all about romantic relationships, but filial relationships and, friendships and mentor-apprentice relationships. Basically, in romantic fantasy, the characters solve the problems that they face as much through who they know and whose help they get, as through the use of swords and spells and that sort of thing. And so that tends to also be the focus of the role-playing game, which we are playing today. So the setting of Blu Rose is set on a continent called Aldea, and there is sort of a central kingdom referred to as Aldis, the kingdom of the Blu Rose. And this is an egalitarian monarchy that really kind of has to shore up its borders against some of the sort of difficulties that the world faces outside of that. And as part of that, Aldis recruits individuals of particularly heroic temperament. Those who are inclined to apply their skills and courage to the problems that face Aldis and the folk outside of Aldis, looking to solve those in order to create a better world. So Blu Rose is definitely not your sort of, grim, dark, every rogue for themselves sort of a setting. There is a kind of an implicit understanding of there's an implicit understanding of heroic goals, while also understanding that characters have flaws, and it's often the flaws in those characters that make them interesting in play. So as part of teaching this game, I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of Blu Rose. Blu Rose uses 3 6-sided dice. At the table, we generally suggest that people use 2 dice of one color and then a 3rd die that is another color. In our fabulous dice roller, which thank you very much, Charlotte, for this. This is quite a lovely tool. You'll see that when the dice come up, 2 of them are of one color and the other is a different one. In the adventure game engine, or Age, which is the sort of set of mechanics that acts as the kind of the engine for our game, anytime you make a test, it is with 3 dice. So you would roll those 3 dice, and if any 2 of those dice come up the same number, so you roll doubles. When you roll doubles, you generate what's called stunt points. So in order to know how many you have generated, you look at the odd colored die, whether or not it's part of the doubles. It doesn't really matter. It's any 2 dice that come up the same number. You then look at the odd colored die, and that tells you how many stunt points you have thereby generated. Stunt points are an immediate resource. We have a couple of charts that kind of provide some quick, simple stunts that you can perform, that you can spend these stunt points on, and perform tasks and perform actions that kind of enhance whatever task it is that you're operating under. Stunt points are spent immediately. There's no sort of saving them and holding them on for later. Use them or lose them, kind of a thing. So I have encouraged my players, and I encourage all new players to Age, to look over those charts. And to be very upfront about it, it can actually be a little intimidating sometimes when you've generated these points and are trying to figure out what you want to do with them. So I actually suggest for every player to find a couple of entries on each of the charts that they might be using. Definitely take a look at combat, take a look at the others, and find one or two of those entries that they can sort of use as their default, right? Like, I don't really know exactly what I'm going to do in this one, so I'll just use this one that, and it can actually help if you think of it as sort of the character's style, right? Like, if my fighter with the battle axes is just really ferocious in combat, maybe my default stunt will be what was the lethal damage stunt, where you inflict extra damage when you strike, that sort of thing. So Blu Rose has a set of 9 statistics that are basically everything that you need to perform all tasks in the game. It's quite simple to use them. If I, as the narrator, call for a fighting test, you would roll your 3 6-sided dice and add whatever rating you have in fighting to that, and then just tell me that total. The game also includes focuses, which are, specific areas in which your character excels in the sort of broad pool of general uses of a given ability. One example would be the communication ability is used to talk to people and kind of make yourself understood and possibly even sway reticent listeners. One focus within communication is persuasion. So a character with a persuasion focus is better at talking people into helping them and that sort of thing. Mechanically, what a focus does is, after you've rolled your dice, added your ability rating to it, you just add 2 more points to whatever the total is, and run with that. So it's quite simple, and yeah. There's a mechanic in Blu Rose referred to as Arcana. Certain characters within the game have certain magical abilities. These are often more psychic in nature than they are anything else. And by and large, I'll be adjudicating most of like the roles involved for those sorts of things. Each player has a character sheet in front of them that lists things like which arcana they have and that sort of thing. And to my players, if any of you have any questions about, can you use this certain arcana in a given way, we'll figure it out. So please don't be afraid to ask.
Sounds good. And then Zana and I come to Blu Rose as kind of noobs, so we'll have a lot of questions.
Good, no problem. I'm happy to answer them. And then if you will also take a look at the very last page of your character sheets, there's a mechanic called conviction. All of you start with 3 points of conviction. And conviction, just think of conviction as that extra bit of willpower, that extra bit of heroic vigor that you can use to turn the narrative to your favor. You can use conviction to do things like re-roll if you don't like a roll that you made. You can use it to take a quick breather and recover some health if you're in a particularly harrowing position in a battle. You can use it to dodge out of the way of attacks. And this sort of thing. So there's a variety of uses of conviction, and I would just say, take a look over, and don't forget that you have some points to use in that moment. And I'll of course help remind y'all if a situation comes up that might benefit from one of your uses of conviction. All right. At this point, I would like to go around to the players and ask them to introduce the characters that they will be playing with us today. And why don't we start with Charlotte?
Oh, no pressure.
No pressure.
Let's just go start reading through this again. I read through it yesterday, but I don't recall a lot of it.
Good.
Yeah, so I was just mentioning in chat that the pre-generated characters that we're using right now are from the Narrator's Toolkit, and I put the link to that for the Green Ronin store up in chat, and I'll have that on the YouTube video as well a little bit later. So yeah, I am going to be playing Liza Rookbane, who is a female human warrior. From what I'm able to gather, she's kind of stubborn and determined, so it kind of fits me pretty decently. A very driven individual who I don't think puts up with a lot of I want to say BS. But then at the same time, she's a little bit lighthearted and adventurous. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. Troy, would you like to introduce your character?
Yeah, my character is Jansen Kepler, human male. It was funny. As I'm getting to know Jensen and getting ready to kind of, because I'm going to act through this whole thing. It's going to be obnoxious. I am looking at the character. He is a charmer, somebody who likes to tell a little bit of a joke every once in a while, an exile. And I was like, wow, this sounds really familiar. Like, gets kind of bored and maybe will do something that is a little on the questionable side of appropriateness, as far as jokes at the wrong time or that kind of thing. And then I came across teaching temperance, and I was like, almost. It just one bit. But so you got to do something a little different. So that's my character today.
All right, Nicole.
I am playing Rye Wolf, who's a awakened animal citizen. My name is Beatrice, and you've been traveling with me for some time. So you've come to learn that Beatrice is a bit aloof and is fairly driven on a personal quest of some sort that has a lot of emotional significance, but she doesn't want to get into it with you. Like she's not a sit around by the campfire and bare her soul kind of wolf.
Gotcha. And for those who are new to Blu Rose, one of the character types that you can play in the setting are a type of folk who are referred to as Raiden. Raiden are all animals, otherwise normal-seeming animals, who have at some point awakened to not just full sapience, but actually the ability to communicate psychically with people around them. And the people in the setting of Blu Rose, depending on where they're from, they have different ideas about them. But in Aldous is unique in that it is one of the few places where Raiden are considered full citizens. If you're able to communicate, whether it's psychically or through speech, then you are a full person according to the law, and with all the rights and responsibilities that come with that. And so Raiden, as a result, are a little more integrated in Aldous than in some other places, where they tend to gather in sort of their own enclaves in the deepest parts of the wild. But yes, so all Raiden are capable of psychic communication, basically with anyone that they can see. Now, there's technically a mechanic around it, but by and large, most narrators in Blu Rose just sort of assume if someone is in, the space where any other character could simply enough speak to them, Raiden can communicate psychically without having to make any rolls or anything like that. So,
I have a question real quick.
Please do.
Will Nicole's character have a psychic voice, like a pitch that you can speak at, like really high and sort of loud?
I think that's up to Nicole, and it sounds like she definitely should have one.
I don't have to be psychic to know what that sigh means. So
You've heard it before.
I have.
Okay, and Zana.
And I am Ellen Collier, and I'll be playing Ellen. She is a little bit, I think she's a little bit snotty. She was kind of raised as knowing she was special since she was very young, and she went to a special academy. She grew up there, and her parents had always told her she was special. They attempted to teach humility at the school, but I'm not sure if it quite absorbed for Ellen or not. And she's extremely intelligent. She's not the best at communicating with people. But her deepest, darkest desires are to learn as much as she possibly can. So that's her main focus, is to get out there and get educated and learn. And so I believe that all of her experiences that she goes into is around gaining more and more knowledge. And she's also psychic, so she can do things with her mind.
Excellent. So why don't we take a moment, actually, with that said, and maybe look at the arcana that your characters have, so we can get a little better idea for you specifically what your characters are capable of, and for our viewers to get a sort of idea of the kinds of abilities that characters in Blu Rose may be able to bring to the table, as it were. Right. So, of all of our characters, Liza is a warrior, although, like many characters, despite the fact that Liza is not specifically a magic user, she has a sort of natural, innate ability. These abilities they're not terribly rare. Like 1 in 10 people in the setting have some kind of small innate magical capability, and so it's pretty routine for people in the setting growing up to learn to use them. In Liza's case, she has the ability to focus her will into the weapon that she's using and cause it to resonate with arcane power, allowing her to use that weapon to strike things that can only be injured via magical means. So certain spirits, certain types of undead or other monsters like that. So quite handy given the vocation Liza has chosen for herself. Jansen, in contrast, is an adept, and adepts are specifically focused on learning a broad variety of magical skills. Jansen's abilities include body control, which is the ability to sort of influence his own metabolism, his balance, and things of this sort. He has the ability to read both hearts and minds, so he can sense what people are thinking and what they are feeling emotionally. Mm-hmm. He also has the ability to engage in psychic contact, which is just basic communication, right? Psychic contact is sort of like telepathy, except it only picks up whatever both parties want to communicate. It's actually the sort of default arcanum that Raiden used in order to communicate. As an adept, Jansen also has Psychic Shield, which is the ability to protect himself from unwanted psychic contact and influences, and Second Sight, which is a sensitivity to sort of the energies of the arcane in the world around him. And finally, Jansen has the ability to sense minds, so he can sort of cast wide his perceptions and be aware of where thinking minds are in his environment, even if he can't see the people who are doing that thinking.
Gotcha.
Beatrice is likewise an adept, and also has psychic contact, psychic shield, and the second sight abilities that Jansen has. In addition, however, Beatrice has the ability to heal injuries by touch, as well as draw on vitality, the vitality of self and others. Beatrice also has some sort of extrasensory perception abilities, in that by touching an object, Beatrice can read psychic impressions left on that object, so important things that that object has been involved in, or the strong emotions of the people who last used or touched the item. Beatrice is also has the Visions Arcanum, which means that every so often she is simply gifted with often very symbolic, yes, exactly, psychic insights into things that are going on. And Visions is great because it allows the narrator to sometimes drop some clues in there in a very reasonable way, and it also allows the player to be like, "Look, I have no idea what's going on. Can I please get a hint?" Sort of a thing.
I love that mechanic.
It's pretty great. And then far from last, because Ellen in no world would imagine herself to be in such a place. Ellen is a third adept. So this is a very magically strong group. And Ellen has psychic contact, psychic shield, and second sight as well, those that I mentioned earlier. In addition, though, she is also something of what we call a shaping adept, which is a type of arcana that is good at sort of manipulating the physical world around her. In this case, Ellen has the Move Object Arcanum, which is literally that. It's the ability to telekinetically move things around in her environment.
Sweet.
And she also has the Weather Shaping Arcanum, which is the ability to manipulate the weather in her environment. And the exact nature of those manipulations are pretty varied, and can be used for quite a lot. Things like creating mists, clearing up the rain, that sort of thing. So, with that said, we can go ahead and get started. Are there any questions running up into things from either the audience or our players? All right. Can you all hear me a little better now?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. All right then. So, the group of you have been traveling together. You've been traveling together for a relatively short period of time, well enough to know one another, to know that you can, for the most part, stand one another's company. And in general, though, the things that you've been out doing are a variety of tasks. It's a brisk day in the Pavan Weald. The Pavan Weald is a massive old-growth forest in the northern part of Aldis that is the home of a great many Raiden. And it's also the home of a variety of small settlements who tend to be made up of foresters and hunters and trappers and that sort of thing. The winds have been blowing down out of the Icebinder Mountains, serving as a reminder that the cold season is coming, and soon. Your journey thus far has been uneventful, except for running across, the occasional other traveler on the road, and that sort of thing. A ways up ahead, however, you cannot help but take note of a large animal that steps out from the underbrush and directly onto the path. A majestic silvery white wolf with eyes the color of golden amber. He sits on the road very deliberately, like sitting right in the way, watching you as you sort of approach gradually, and doing so with a great degree of intelligence and curiosity. Clearly, this is no ordinary animal, and is instead a Raiden, one of the sapient psychic animals of Aldea. As you draw nearer, he stands, nodding in greeting, and each of you feel the sort of mental kind of a poke that is generally the polite request from someone who wishes to engage in psychic contact.
I accept.
Okay.
I do as well.
All right. Does anyone shut him down? Anyone reject? All right. Curiosity. A sense of gratitude kind of ripples across the newly created psychic connection that you now have with this great silver wolf, and he says, "Greetings and well met, all of you. Please forgive me for interrupting your travel. My name is Frostwind, and I live here in these woods. I mean to no harm to any of you. I merely wish to speak. And if you're willing to hear me out, perhaps to ask a favor of you. In truth, I have no means by which to repay you for this request, save my gratitude. But I hope that you will listen nonetheless, for I fear that a life, and perhaps more than one, hangs in the balance."
By all means, speak, brother.
"Thank you, sister," he says, and then sort of looks to the rest of you. "In recent days, my friend Greymane came to me with troubling news. She is another Rywolf. And all of you receive just sort of a quick impression of fondness of an older mentor figure for sort of someone who is younger, as well as maybe a tiny hint of exasperation. While wandering close to the nearby village, indeed closer than might be wise, Greymane stumbled across a human youth, a boy on the cusp of adulthood, out gathering mushrooms. She said that the boy had a furtive, wounded look about him, and an injury not in body, but perhaps in spirit. She also believes that she felt the stirrings of the Rybond with him. When she attempted to draw nearer, however, an older human with a similar scent burst out of the brush, brandishing a heavy stick and yelling furiously at her. He grabbed the younger one by the arm and dragged him bodily away, and Greymane ran, frightened by the sheer violence of the display. Now, for both our players and viewers who are new to Blu Rose, there is, in the setting, there is a thing called the Rybond, which is made between one of the Raiden and another person who is not Raiden. And the Rybond is generally considered to be something sacred. Those who experience it usually express it as a feeling of sort of discovering the other half of your spirit, or someone that you've missed your entire life, but you didn't even know that you missed them. Those who experience the Rybond, it's an incredibly strong relationship that is not classified as any other kind of relationship. It is its own thing. You know, it's not a stand-in for a friendship or anything else like that. It is its own relationship. Frostwind continues. Since then, she told me that she was troubled and restless. Now, I suspected that she wanted to go back in search of the young human. She all but admitted it. But I counseled her against this, as he is from a small farming village, reliant on the sorts of animals that the packs around here prey upon, and it seems, certainly from the reception she received, that they do not look on us with any kindness or courtesy. I thought that would be an end to the matter, as Greymane typically heeds my advice. Once again, like this sense of frustration ripples across the psychic link. That's very much a lot of like, these kids. But I have not seen or scented her in days, and I believe that she must have gone back that way. I am hesitant to look on the matter myself because I fear that I would find a similar reception, or possibly worse. So I will ask, you who clearly would be more welcome in such a place than I, will you go to this village and try to find out what has become of my friend? Perhaps this young human that she was curious about knows.
Yeah. We will, right?
Absolutely. brother.
Absolutely. Let's
Of course.
go.
Thank you. You have my gratitude. Please, my mind will be open to you should you find anything useful. In terms of using the psychic contact ability, so you can use it very easily with someone that you can see, but distance is no limit to using psychic contact. You can literally contact anyone that you know. The better you know them, the easier it is, from just about anywhere. All right. So, okay. So with that, you continue on the way, unless you have any other questions or anything like that.
Do we need to know how to recognize the our missing wolf?
She is young, lean, of about average size, with shaggy gray fur, and the palest of blue eyes. She has been missing, as I said, about a week, several days. But it's only in the last 3 days that I've grown concerned.
Very good.
Will we be
Thank
able
you.
to communicate back with you from afar?
Oh yes, I will make sure to keep my mind open to you. He kind of looks at Beatrice and he says, I know that at least one of you can communicate in this way. Thank you again. I don't have good words for my gratitude. And like really strong, almost like parental levels of worry is sort of communicated across that link. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. I am on this case.
All right. Sure enough, you're on the road for not quite 2 hours before you begin to see the sort of thinning of trees around the outlying farms of the village. Wood smoke wafts on the breeze from the village proper. As you enter the village of Redbriar, locals are bustling about with the business of the coming autumn in preparation for the harshness of winter. Smokehouses are curing meats, grains are being milled into flour, and the delightful odors of fruits cooking into jams and preserves are everywhere. People offer greetings to you as they notice you, although there is some, double take, the quick waved greeting, and then, calling the attention of the neighbors to you. You kind of get the impression that they probably don't really get a lot of visitors who aren't in the company of merchant caravans out this way. All right, you find yourself in Redbriar. What would you like to do?
I'm going to try to diminish my presence since they were specifically hostile. There was specifically a hostile encounter here already, right?
Yes. So the locals, you notice, actually do me a favor and give me a, pardon me, I need to bring up my resources here. Sorry. Go ahead and give me a perception check. The empathy specialty applies. Pardon me, the empathy focus applies. So what I'll ask, and it's not just Beatrice who can do this, anybody who would like to make this check, please feel free to do so. So you would roll the dice, add them together, and then add whatever rating you have in empathy to that total, in perception to that total. And if you have the empathy focus, you would add 2 more to it.
Okay, let's see. How about that?
All right. So what is your total then?
Too many windows.
Yeah, right. Same.
So I'm adding 3. 3 to, yes, 11.
Okay.
Total of 11.
All right.
And I got the same.
Okay.
All right, walk Zana and I through this. So I just rolled.
No worries. So in order to roll in the channel, you would type A:test, as the others have done. So Troy, your roll is 322. So that is doubles, but so one thing I neglected to mention about stump points earlier, you only actually generate stump points if you hit the difficulty number of the testing question.
You must succeed to stunt.
Correct, exactly. So your total looks like a 7 on the dice, and what is your perception?
My perception is... Oh my gosh, I just flipped right off of my... Sorry. I thought I'd be clever, and I'm like, I'll do this on my iPad, and now I've totally lost it. All right, so...
I know that feel.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll find my perception 2.
Under your 2. Okay, excellent. So that gives you a total of 9.
None of us are very...
That is
No.
okay.
It's been a long day on the road. We're tired.
And what about Ellen?
I've rolled a 442.
Okay.
And I am still looking to find where the perception is located. Oh, perception, I have it. Searching would be my perception.
Okay. So in that case, just add whatever your perception is to your result.
Okay.
So add the dice together, and then add whatever rating your perception is. What is that?
So that would be a 10.
A 10. All right. Yeah. So honestly, the locals seem it's a little hard to read them, but nobody seems overtly overtly hostile.
Okay.
There's definitely none of that. It's actually kind of hard to tell what their opinion is on the fact that y'all have walked in with, admittedly, a large wolf, but also one that bears some of the signs of being Raiden. Some Raiden actually decorate themselves with jewelry as a means of communicating that visually to those who perhaps can't sense it in other ways.
Indeed, I have a beautiful metal headdress that I wear.
Fancy.
She does. Indeed, she does. All
This
right.
is canon.
All right. Yeah. What would y'all like to do at this point?
Well, I'm going to let the humans take the lead here. And just kind of keep, to kind of behind.
Sure.
Because
sure,
I'm
sure.
trying to make sure everybody feels comfortable since we are looking for wolves.
Right.
Don't want to misstep,
Yeah.
Can we sense if there's another Raiden in the community, because they may be more empathetic to our cause?
It's true. So there isn't anything, without knowing specifically that other write-in, there's no particular way to sense them or pick them out. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if we want to maybe talk to some, maybe go to like a place where like a social, like a pub or a
Sure.
a market or something.
Sure, yeah. So the village has has a sort of a village square that has a variety of under certain times. You're pretty sure certain times of the week, there's an actual market that is held there. Currently, though, as you move towards the square, you can actually hear the sounds of like a gravelly voiced man shouting. Along with the occasional pause, presumably like for a response or so. When you get into actual, where you can see into the square, the shouter is revealed as a tall, somewhat gaunt, older man, in dour garb, walking with a very stout cane, and to be perfectly honest, given given how vigorously he gestures with it and as he's talking and he's just very upset and he probably doesn't really need it for walking all that often. The primary recipient of his frustration and anger is a plump, kind of round-faced woman of early middling years, who is doing her best to keep the conversation productive, although to be perfectly honest, it doesn't seem terribly successful.
Joe. We've lost our Joe.
No.
Joe is froze. So about them riding, right?
Shady characters all.
So I guess right now, if anyone has any questions in the chat, now would be a perfect time.
Yeah.
So we wait for Joe.
Yeah, he'll be back here in a second.
Yeah, so...
Ooh, I just see myself. Wow.
Yeah.
I turned my light down. I'm going supernova here in the face.
Okay, so Joe leaving, it did mess up our video for a second, so... yeah. Let's quickly shift to intermission, I guess. It'll take me like a minute or two to get this resorted if we want to continue.
Okay.
It just has us all shifted a little bit weird at the moment.
Oh, that's all right. And during intermission, that's when Zana sings? Is that how that works?
Okay, so I'm going to leave the audio running for this.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So we'll take a quick break and then be back?
Yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes, I hope.
All right.
I know not how many times now. We don't know why Marcus has disappeared, and we need to explore all the options. I feel for you, truly I do, and I want Marcus home safe and sound. But I just don't know how to make that happen. Everyone who is able to be out there looking for him has been doing so and is doing so. But autumn is upon us. We don't have anyone. We can't rally the entire village to go search for him. And her expression, is clearly like, despite all the yelling, she feels terrible for him. Like, it's very obvious. And she says, "Are you absolutely certain that he doesn't have anyone or anywhere else to whom he might have gone?" "Bah," the father says. "This again. I've already told you. My son would not leave me, or not even if his own life was at stake. He's a good boy, a loyal, obedient boy, as a child should be to his father. Besides, we have no other surviving family anywhere, and neither does he know anyone outside of this very village." At this, she has kind of noticed y'all sort of over his shoulder as you're kind of approaching. And he notices her noticing you, and so the two of them turn towards you, and he narrows his eyes suspiciously, as he clearly realizes that he doesn't recognize you. "Who in the name of light are all of you? Have you something to do with my son's disappearance?" And he once again brandishes that cane. "Quickly, speak!" The woman sort of puts a hand on his cane arm. And kind of slowly but insistently pushing it away, and she says, "My apologies, travelers. You're under no suspicion of any wrongdoing here," she says, more to him than you. "I'm Lenya Niren. I'm the head woman of Redbriar. Our village is in the midst of unhappy times, as you must have overheard, but I'm sorry, how can I help you?"
Well, first, you can help us by keeping your father, I'm assuming, somewhere where he can't harm anybody with his actions.
What are you speaking of? Who are you, this stranger, to speak to me thus? And he kind of slows down the ire when he takes a better look at you, and is just like, a lot of armor, literally multiple scary weapons, and he sort of takes a half step back away from you, but is still sort of fixing you with that mean, just surly glare. She laughs, and she says, "While Jatos is indeed a father, he is not my father. I'm afraid that his son has gone missing, and forgive his fiery words. He is just a father who is concerned."
And I'm going to say, let's relax. Everything's fine. We're here on our own business, and tell us a little bit more about what happened and when your son went missing. And what was your son's name again?
Well, his name is Marcus, and he's a boy of 17 years. And he's been gone for 3 days. It was 3 days ago that he just disappeared.
I would like to communicate with my party members, but not say...
Well, yeah, I forgot about that part.
No problem.
So, clearly this is related to our search. We should offer to help.
I agree.
Yeah, you'd see me nodding as if to something not vocalized.
Yes.
I don't know.
A knowing look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that we can just kind of fold in the, kind of looking for this for his son, and then figure out, kind of do our own sort of reconnaissance and forensics on our quest.
All right.
I don't think the father will react very well to me butting my furry nose in, so I'm going to stay back.
Oh, let him try.
So he kind of lapses into somewhat sullen muttering, while she, steps up and presumably you go through introductions, and she even introduces herself to Beatrice very politely.
I give her a bow.
Yes, well, forgive me if you need anything from me, please don't hesitate. I'm happy to help. But otherwise, I will let you go about your business.
Inara, I want to just ask, like, where was the last time the sun was seen? Like, in what part of town?
His father speaks up. Jato speaks up. Well, when he headed off to bed, 3 nights ago was the last time I saw him. That night I heard him get up and I assume he was just fetching something to drink. So I paid it no mind, but he was gone the next morning.
Was there anything odd leading up to his disappearance? Anything that you recall from the day before?
Not the day before. And he actually, gives Beatrice a slight side eye, and kind of looks like he's studying her a little bit.
I show my best profile.
Lovely, admire. And then he says, but no, that was. There's been nothing. There's been nothing. Boys sometimes get themselves into trouble, but my son is a good boy. He is well disciplined, well behaved. He kind of looks at the head woman very pointedly, and he says, "My son would never run away. He would never run off. He's not. I didn't raise him to be some vagabond ragamuffin."
I'm gonna tap into our kind of psychic connection real fast, and I'm just, to the group. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I have a feeling that maybe this kid is sort of like taking a break from Dad, like getting to see how far he can get away, just to kind of. I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a friend, or perhaps even some like a romance or something. It sounds to me like this kid would want to get away.
And Dad feels a little overbearing. Yeah.
I suspect a rye bond.
Yeah, let's see what he says about that. Now, why do you keep on looking at our companion here? I see you shifty eye in her direction.
he turns very non-shifty, very glary eyes on my side. Well, I was wondering whose pet this is, he says, down to Beatrice. And Lenya actually gasped, "Jatos!"
I take a step towards him.
You know as well as I do that Lady Beatrice is right, and that this is beyond the pale even for you. He sort of throws up a hand and just storms away, and she shakes her head and says, "Please, I beg your forgiveness. That was wildly uncalled for."
I am.
Exactly.
And another thing.
Just as you open your mouth, the dog went.
It was perfect. Perfect.
Some serious role play.
I awaken here in the Pavin Wells, and I am trying to be respectful to this human because he is clearly distraught.
She sort of hesitates and says, Jatos and Marcus came to us from the theocracy of Jarsum, when Marcus was but a very small boy. Marcus has been raised among us, but Jatos lived his life, most of his adult life in the theocracy, and he has picked up a great deal of, he maintains a lot of the baggage, including their distrust of Raiden and adepts and all the rest of it, which isn't an excuse for his behavior, but, well, again, I apologize. I'm very embarrassed, and I hope you don't think that the rest of us would hold such offensive ideas.
Absolutely not. You've treated me with nothing but respect.
You're very kind to ask after Marcus. The reality is, he has. It's no one's fault, but I can understand his ire. We're very busy preparing for the coming of autumn, and the winters that come down out of the ice binders are very, very vicious. And it takes a lot of work to make sure that we can all make it through those winters. So we haven't been able to spare anyone but a few hunters here and there to look around. We've some of those hunters, as I said, they've been looking for signs, but none of them are really, to be perfectly honest, skilled enough to follow whatever signs may be left on the dry ground by a light-footed youth. Though they've searched the area for miles in every direction, well, save one, and turned up no signs of Marcus.
Well, perhaps I should put my nose to it. We're on a search of our own, and we could easily keep our eyes and noses out.
I would be so grateful. We would be so grateful. I don't wish to burden you with the problems of a small village, but whatever help you can lend, we would be terribly, terribly grateful.
Is there a reason that there's one direction that hasn't been sought, one area that's been avoided?
Well, she actually sort of points in one direction away from the village, and you can see, like, a couple of miles worth of trees, and then it scales up into the large mountains that sort of form the backdrop of most of this village. She says there's a path that leads up to, during the war some time ago, some of the scouts, some of the military scouts discovered that the folk of Cairn, the servants of the Lich King, now destroyed by our queen, heart bless her, but some of his soldiers had built, through arcane means, we think, an outpost higher up into those mountains that overlooked this area. They had built a pass that would potentially allow them to bring troops through. Now, of course, Alden scouts discovered it, and they took care of everything that was there, and they collapsed the pass. But it's somewhat dangerous. It's somewhat dangerous to go in that direction, and it doesn't make any sense that Marcus would head there. But she sort of shrugs.
I say psychically to the group, this is exactly where a teenage boy that's wanting to escape and take time away from the village and his father might want to go.
And if somebody was, hiding someone else or something that path might be our path.
I'm with you.
So, as you've been sort of chatting with her and whatnot, like various people around the village have been doing this, like, oh, I'm just carrying this to my neighbor, sort of lingering so I can listen. Oh, my neighbor's joined me. Now we can sort of talk in a way that lets us overhear what's going on. And so by the time you sort of get to this point in the conversation, you know, there's a good dozen, 15 or so people just sort of loitering in the area. And they're actually chatting with one another about how, like, actual adventurers may be, like, they're going, it looks like they're looking into this. This is so wonderful, sort of a thing. And, like, there's a couple who are like, are they envoys? Do they work for the queen? Like, who are these sort of a thing? So, there's a lot of conjecture about who you are.
Are we envoys, Joe?
What's that?
Are we actually envoys or not?
Not currently.
Okay. Just checking.
Roving band of misfits.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of end off our kind of psychic discussion saying we better go if we want to get our stuff done without, everything being telegraphed to people who maybe ought not hear.
I would like to go to the family's house so I could get a scent. Okay. But I don't know if Dad's going to, cooperate with that endeavor. Right. So
he won't have a choice.
That's the spirit.
Okay.
Someone give me a perception check. If you have the seeing or smelling focus, those both apply.
Fantastic. Now we're talking.
That sounds like a wolf's job to me.
Right? Gotta get the right window.
I feel you.
Okay, 9 and 14.
14. So
let me put my nose to it. Now
I tell you, yeah. So, a quick sniff around, you're actually pretty sure that when Dad stalked off, he headed into the tavern.
Okay. Can we get a pointer to his house, please?
Oh, of course, Lenya says. And she actually kind of throws a slightly surreptitious look over at the tavern and says, yes, it's this way. I'll show you. And so she kind of, wanders off with you in that direction. All right. So, yeah, you get there. And fortunately, you don't even have to go inside because there is a small woven basket of what appears to be dirty laundry tucked over next to a wash basin that is clearly just awaiting water and someone to do some backbreaking work over it.
Well, take a good sniff then.
Yep. So it's pretty easy to separate Dad's smell because you've already smelled him.
Yeah.
And so if what Lenya says is true, then the only other person that lives there would be this boy, and you can pick up his scent pretty easily.
Very good. All right, team.
So as you're kind of sniffing around the house, you actually pick up a third scent that is distinctly lupine. That is distinctly lupine in its tone.
I'm getting a picture.
Okay.
Getting a little picture in my head.
And in fact, that scent actually comes and goes several times up to a small window tucked up against the back part of the house.
Mm-hmm. Folks, I think we know what happened here. Now we just have to figure out where they ended up.
All right. So, you notice one of the villagers has kind of sort of followed y'all somewhat. You actually get the impression that it's really more of the way he's dressed kind of gives you the impression that he's probably a hunter. He's got like a big old like skinning knife at his belt, wears sort of rough like buckskin style leathers and this sort of thing. And he's kind of followed along. You kind of get the impression because it's like, well, this is our head woman, and she's wandering off with these strangers, and who knows, kind of a thing. So he's sort of followed along. But yeah, and you can actually pick up a scent on the boy and this wolf fairly easily.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm gonna look at the guy. How close is he?
Oh, he's kind of remaining a polite distance, right? Like, he's not trying to get up in anybody's business, but he's clearly watching out. He's clearly watching out for Lenya. And he's obviously within shouting distance, kind of a thing.
I don't feel like I want to shout or kind of
Sure.
cause a spectacle. Or any more of a spectacle. I'm presuming we're kind of communicating what we've done and or what our wolf pal has sniffed out.
Indeed.
What do we do? Should we?
I think we set out that way.
Yeah.
All right. Lenya is very heartened by what you tell her. She's just like, that is, I'm so relieved. But a wolf, that's very strange. Why would she sort of looks like she wants to ask a question and isn't really sure, but then she just charges right ahead. Can you tell if the wolf was riding?
We are on a quest to find a Rye wolf citizen who is missing herself. So.
Oh.
My strong suspicion is that they're together.
That's, to be perfectly honest, that's sort of a relief, honestly. Marcus has been tremendously sheltered. Growing up. Most of the boys and girls here in this village, they routinely head out into the woods, and they all pick up some sort of woods cunning here and there, and that sort of thing. But Marcus has been his father has kept him from all of that, and so I was a little worried. About him being out there, but with a Rye wolf, I'm sure he'll be all right. She looks in the direction that you point, where his scent has sort of pointed, and it is definitely aiming right towards that mountain path. I don't know why he would go up there, though.
Perhaps where his father wouldn't follow?
That's certainly the truth. Jathos is very, very fearful of Cairn and its troops, and he would certainly want nothing to do with, an outpost that we suspect was probably constructed by arcane means. I can think of no place he would be less inclined to go, I suspect.
Do you think he would want to run away, or do you think that this is a temporary reprieve?
I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. Jathos used to be much harsher, let us say. There were certain kinds of discipline that he thought of as natural, from his time in Jarzan. And when Marcus was old enough, we sort of became aware that he was employing those methods. And of course, as soon as we were aware of it, we put a stop to it. but he's still been very verbally harsh his entire life. Marcus is quiet. He's somewhat meek for it, and it's, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't blame the boy if he wanted to leave and never come back. And I understand that sometimes, particularly when you find yourself involved in the Ribond, your life can change dramatically sometimes. So she looks up. Perhaps he simply headed in that direction to throw off the trip. I don't really. Do you? She glances over her shoulder at the kind of old huntsman that's sort of watching, giving everyone the hairy eyeball kind of a thing. Do you mind if I call Demrick over? He's pretty familiar with the hunting paths in that direction. He's probably the most experienced of our hunters.
Oh, please do.
She waves him over.
I would like to say to everyone psychically before he comes over that it's very possible that the mayor had spoken with someone, or the what was his name? The father has spoken with someone at the pub to trail us as we're going along and keep an eye out. We know his disdain already.
Yeah.
For creatures of the wood, so we should be cautious.
All right. Demrick gets there, and Lenya very quickly is like, so these good folk who are looking for Marcus thinks that he could possibly have gone up the mountain path. Can you give them any advice for following it? He shakes his head and he says, you should just be aware. The animals up that way are wild. They are not used to the tread of civilized folk. You may wish, maybe an hour or two up the slope, you'll see a cabin off to one side. That belongs to old Galfi. She is an herb wife and a forester, and she's good folk for all that she doesn't care for village life or the company of others. And if you approach her respectfully, she may be able to help you. She sees a lot, and she may know something. If I had thought that the boy would be foolish enough to go in that direction, I would have already spoken with her myself, but it never occurred to me. Why would he do such a thing? And she kind of looks at all of you, and particularly at Beatrice, and she shakes her head and she says, well, we're not really sure why Marcus might head in that direction in such a way yet. But we hope to find out soon. Right, and then he sort of wanders back towards the rest of the village.
Well, I think that we know all that we need to start on our way.
All right.
Woods Lady in the cabin sounds like our kind of folk.
Okay. So sounds like you'll head out then. All right. Do we want to take a quick question break? Are there any questions that have cropped up, either among the players or in the chat?
I haven't seen anything chat-wise.
All right, excellent.
Do we want to just give some folks like where they can kind of find this if they want to head over to the Green Ronin store, greenronin.com, and check out this kind of what have we got? We got some things that we've recently released.
Yeah. So we've so probably the most recent source book that we have for Blu Rose. We've got a number of source books out. We've got the core of the line. We also have a city book, Aldous, City of the Blu Rose, which is a big, beautiful book that kind of details the capital city in a lot of detail, and it's quite lovely. We also have there's an adventure anthology that has 6 unrelated adventures of varying levels that is called Six of Swords. And we've also, which we've recently released for purchase individually on the site.
Nice.
Yeah. We also have a lovely line of fiction. I've written one novel in Blu Rose, the setting for Blu Rose called Shadowtide, and we have several just fantastic short story anthologies, including the Sovereigns of Aldous anthology, which is a series of 13 short stories, one for each of the historical sovereigns of the nation of Aldous, that kind of talks about them, who they are individually, and that sort of thing. And so it's a lot of fun history for the setting.
And that's through Nisaba, which is our kind of fiction imprint.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
Yeah. Cool.
How
Anyway.
do you spell that?
Nisaba.
And we'll get you a link too, Zana. The art on this, all of the art related to this stuff is phenomenal. And forgive me for getting the artist's name off the top of my head, but really great stuff.
Indeed.
Okay.
All right. So like 3 or 4 hours out, you do indeed reach an area where things the path broadens out a little, and it actually looks like on both sides of the path, someone has done some sort of wild cultivation of herbs, right? It's not neat rows and patches, but someone has clearly, deliberately set up patches of these herbs to grow. And those of you with any kind of nature lore or awareness of such things know that herbs complement one another and where they're placed. And it is overall a pretty delightful setup. And yes, there is a very rough-looking, sort of rustic-y cabin sitting off to one side. And indeed, as you come walking up, there is already a figure in the doorway, kind of looking down the road at you to sort of see who you are, kind of a thing. This figure is very tall, night person. Now, the night people are a very, strong, robust folk who tend to have sort of stone gray skin in a variety of shades, from very dark to very kind of, whitish, almost purplish looking. And strong jaws, strong brows. They were originally created through sorcery to be servants of who wielded that sorcery. But many, many, many centuries ago, they broke away as people and sort of asserted their independence and paid for it in blood. But unfortunately, to this day, there are still folk who see night people and immediately think, oh, sorcerer's servants, gotta have a taint of evil, right? When the reality is, each night person has as much choice in that as anyone else does. But it's also the reason why some night people tend to live a little removed from civilization. And this night person in particular is an older woman. She's not sort of hunched or anything. In fact, she's very strong, has a very strong posture. And just a head full of beautiful silver gray hair that she's kind of piled up and, twisted up out of the way, kind of a thing. A couple of strands have sort of escaped and hang down over her shoulders. And she sort of steps out onto the little kind of, steps that lead up to her cabin and watch.
Well, I'm just going to be very friendly, and I'm looking at my, fellow folks, and not necessarily speaking to let's not be jerks, but very non-verbally saying,
I'm never a jerk.
one of us might be a little cranky.
I think she can tell us about our the surroundings, what we might look out for, the dangers that could be up the hill, or she may have caught sight of the guy himself. So,
Okay.
of Marcus.
All right. So she kind of gives you all sort of, as you sort of turn off the path, the game path that you've been following, and head in her direction. She waves. As you get closer, you notice she's in sort of a well-worn and kind of patched up old clothing of heavy cloth and sturdy leather. And she has a winched crossbow, like that is all set next to the door. She's not touching it, but it is definitely there. And she has a stout hatchet at one hip. She says, "Are you lost?" Sort of, kind of giving you a close look. Not really aggressive or threatening, but just sort of not sure.
We are outfitted for action. Just,
Indeed you are, yeah.
So I'm going to say hello, friend. Good to see you. Good to meet you. Make introductions all around, and say we're actually looking for some. There's a young boy who's gone missing, and we were just wondering if you might have seen anything or anyone that maybe looks like they shouldn't be out here, out in the wilderness.
A boy, you say? Was he accompanied by a wolf?
Yeah.
Yes.
Aye. Yeah, I've seen him. Maybe 3 days ago or so. He passed by the cabin, but neither of them turned towards me, so I didn't bother them. They didn't bother me. They seem to be in good health and good spirits. I know he seemed to be about the right age for a young hunter, maybe just starting out into the woods. So I assume that's what he was up to. But he's not been back home, you say?
Sadly, no. We are going to continue up this way. Can you give us any advice on things to look out for?
She kind of reaches up and sort of scratches at her lip, and it sort of reveals just a little pinpoint of a tusk. And she says, might could, if you'd, I can't help but notice you're provisioned fair well.
Are you in need?
Winters can be difficult for old Galthy, she says. And, of course, I will give you what I know, regardless. But if you have a mind to show some gratitude for my help with perhaps some supplies of some sort, I'd be very grateful.
That's one. Just as a sidebar, that's one thing I didn't actually really think about is what am I carrying with me?
I mean, the reality is you can just sort of assume a lot, right? Like, probably weird pieces of equipment and things like that are probably not on, but y'all are out traveling. You've probably got, bedrolls, and you've got, provisions, preserved provisions and all of that sort of thing.
I mean, I'll let y'all handle that part of it because I expect I've been eating rabbits or whatever I eat, right? So.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll say, of course, we'll want to be generous, and thank you so much for your advice. And I'm gonna, pull out some provisions and look at our two humans, my other two companions. Kick in.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably give up half of what I had for food wise.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great.
All right. Yeah. She's
generous.
very, yeah. This is very generous. Thank you. And she sort of takes it and waves you on into the cabin. In the cabin, it's not terribly large, but it's pretty comfortable. And it's got like what clearly like hand carved wooden furniture all over the place. Like one of these like woven rag rugs down in front of the hearth. And it's nice and warm inside and takes a sort of crisp edge off of the air. She comes in and starts, putting stuff away as she talks. She says, "You'll have to be careful. I know that there's been a bear in the woods, nosing about, getting ready to hibernate, and so she's fat and looking to get fatter. So watch yourself. Not that she'd try to eat any of you, but she's likely to assume that you're competition for what she's looking for, and a bear of her size is unlikely to take kindly to that, I'll tell you. I was out maybe a week, perhaps a little over a week ago, saw some tracks that were not like anything I've really seen before. They walked about like folk. She sort of actually gestures to Beatrice. Pardon me, miss. They walk about like two-legged folk, but they'd pause like a hound. And I'm not terribly familiar with anything that has marks, that leaves marks as a hound or a wolf does, but goes about on two legs. She sort of shrugs. Why don't you've given me so much of your food? Why don't you take some of this with you? Your food will be lovely, and it'll get me through the winter. And this is fresh, though, and I have plenty of it. And so, like, as you're sitting there chatting, and she kind of describes, look out for look out for rock falls in this area, and sort of a thing. She slices off some thick slices of bread, like toasts them in the hearth, slathers them down with preserves and just that whole thing.
Oh, we've got a night folk grandma now.
So very much so. Very much so. And she makes you a really, really strong. She pours some cups from a really, really strong pot, like an iron pot that hangs over the fire. A really nice strong tea with as much honey as you care for. But yeah, so she kind of lays out, the things to look out for, and says, as far as the outpost goes, I don't go up there. Nobody I know goes up there. The way is treacherous, and there's not much good to be found up there, really. It's higher in elevation than any of the good hunting is, and I can think of no good reason to go up that way.
How long is the walk?
Oh, well, you've the rest of today, and probably you can reach it by mid-afternoon upon the morrow, most likely. As long as you've sturdy walking boots. She sort of looks around. Oh, those are good boots. All right.
Very good.
Very good. Yeah, thank you for your generosity and for the information. And let's
before you go, she goes and goes through some. She goes over to a table that just has jars and pots and containers and things of herbs and this sort of thing, and comes back with 4 small clay jars that have a very strongly green herbal scent to them. And she says, if you head that way, you're likely to take hurt at some point. So here are some salves, just in case you should find yourself on the wrong side of some beastie's teeth or claws, or whatever else may be up there.
Thank you kindly, madam.
Of course.
What time of day is it right now?
It is late afternoon by this point. You've probably got another couple of hours of sunlight.
Well, we should make our way, I think.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So you head out.
I
Yeah,
keep
go
my
ahead.
nose open.
Okay. All right. In fact, go ahead and give me a perception check. Tracking applies.
Oh, do I have tracking? I don't think I do. I do not.
Okay. I mean, you do have smell, yes?
Smell, yes.
Smell will apply as well.
Thank you.
Oh,
Did we
roller,
roll
don't
up?
fail me now. Been having some hiccups. But,
Yeah.
Should I go again?
Yeah.
And this is just for our wolf.
Anyone can make the check, particularly if you have the tracking focus. But anyone is allowed to make it.
I have some backup actual dice if we need them.
D6s. All right. Why don't we go ahead and roll those?
All right. I've got doubles. I've got here 4, 9. Chapter sheet. 10, 11, 12, 14. 14.
Nice. Okay.
And 1 stunt point.
And you generated stunt point. All right. Yeah. If you'd like to spend that stunt point on an exploration stunt, please feel free to do so.
I would love to. Efficient search. Actually, no, speedy search.
Nice.
No,
Okay.
I can't do either of those. Exploration stunts are so. I have a 1-point stunt. Advantageous positioning is all I can do. So.
Okay. Well, that is okay. Fortunately, that advantageous positioning serves you well. You get back on the path and continue heading up. The wind in the trees has grown persistently louder and more forceful the higher in elevation you've got. So you are surprised by the sudden arrival of a very large brown bear out of the undergrowth and into your path. Now, you have advantageous positioning, so I'm going to say she doesn't notice you right away. What would you like to do? She has not noticed you yet.
Warn my companions, please.
Okay, no problem.
Bear in the path.
All right. So everyone y'all can decide how you want to, what it is you want to do in this situation before she notices you. But she is about to notice you.
Oh.
I know. I don't want to fight a bear. So.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't want to fight a bear.
Can we back up at all to show that we don't mean any harm?
Sure, yeah. You can sort of, move back, kind of give her some space, right? All right. Everyone give me a dexterity check. Stealth focus applies.
Let's see if the bot wants to comply now.
Okay. Yeah, better.
I got 11.
Nice. Okay.
I have 16.
Ellen vanishes entirely.
Okay, so help me out if I've got, so.
And I've got 13.
Excellent. 13, and wow, yeah. 16. What is your total, Troy?
And that's dexterity, so 17.
Dexterity. Okay, total of a 17. But yeah, you do have 5 stunt points.
Woo.
So go ahead and take a look at the exploration stunts, and see if there's anything useful there.
All right.
Despite the fact that it's not technically, an investigation check or anything, there may be some useful little fun things that you, because you and Ellen both get out of her line of sight very quickly and efficiently. She sort of glances up in the direction of both Beatrice and Liza, and looks like she's considering you for a moment. But then she sort of continues crossing the path and, lumbers off into the underbrush, continuing her hunt for something to nom on.
Which is thankfully not us. Yeah.
Which is thankfully not you, yes.
I was going to say, I think kind of dumb courage. I don't know if it's dumb courage, but blatant courage is both a part of, I think, Jansen's makeup as well as Ellen's. So even though we were the ones hiding, would we say very wrong if they were to?
Makes total sense.
All right, so I'm looking at my exploration stun,
and from your dice roll, you have 5 stun points, which is quite a bit.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. I am looking at, I want to do things like the flourish or something with a flourish, but I'm literally just searching. I'm just trying to be fancy.
That is so appropriate
There's
to
nothing
you,
wrong
though,
with that.
Troy.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of stunt points. I'm gonna do spend 3 of them, and I want to spend them all in this turn, right? Or in this.
Yeah. In this moment, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the object of your attention. So I 1+ bonus to further tests to examine. No, that's not what I want. I want. I want to. Where did it go? Basically, I want to kind of check the surroundings. So maybe it is the object of my attention. It's basically I want to get, so I want to see if I can get any other sense of kind of the surroundings or any clues or that kind of thing. So.
Sure. All right, yeah. So the sort of area that you stepped away from her into, you're nice and tucked away, not just from the bears' perspective, but really kind of anyone who would be coming along this trail. And it's actually because you've stepped into this little space that you notice a tiny bit of open space that looks like it's been recently cleared of most of its normal woodland debris and like arranged for a modicum of comfort. So a few rocks have been piled together to make a crude fire pit that still have ashes within. And a very small stack of unburnt pieces of wood lay next to the stones. And there's a sheet of like lush moss, perhaps 6 feet in length roughly, lays piled to one side of the little clearing, in swaths that have clearly been torn up from other areas, and sort of laid out, so it almost creates a very natural like place to bed down.
I see. Any signs of how large of a group? Was it 2? Was it 1? I'm kind of just seeing if I see any wolf prints.
Yeah. Well, so go ahead and so as you're sort of investigating this, the rest of you notices that Jansen is kind of like poking about somewhere off the trail, and so unless you deliberately decide to stay on the trail, it's easy for you all to check it out as well. Well, go ahead and give me a perception check. Tracking applies.
Okay. So I'm getting a lot of stun points.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 13. Oh no, percent. 14.
Yeah, 14. Excellent. So you kind of poke around, and you absolutely find some wolf prints. You also realize that the fire itself was poorly built. like clearly the product of a novice's hands. It's particularly evident in the little stack of branches that were never burned, as most of them are either too green or too wet to easily catch. And to some extent, like sitting there examining this, you're sort of a little worried about this kid's ability to survive in the wilderness by himself. Like buried a little ways off, you also find some charred, and actually, it's actually in among the ashes. You actually find some charred little bones in the fire, specifically squirrel bones.
Squirrels, they're tasty for a snack.
Yes, okay. And then at this point, as I have more stunt points to kind of spend, I can also, if I like really not making a connection with the stunts that I've got, I can just sort of not use them.
Yeah, exactly. Mostly stunts are about figuring out a nifty thing to do in the immediate term, and if nothing sort of presents itself, then it's no harm, no foul to just let him go. Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
Well, relate what I found, and
yep. And this was definitely a campsite with two folk, or specifically a rye wolf and a two-legged people. All right.
Seems like we're on the right track.
Yes, it does.
Excellent. So continuing on. So it is. By the time you encounter this, you probably have like less than an hour left before nightfall. And with the mountains to the north, and autumn on its way, they cast a very, very long shadow from where the sun sits in the sky. So much so that, I mean, the sun is basically mostly behind the mountains already, even though it is not technically fully set. And like by the hour, it's getting colder.
Well, shall we wait here? Or are we too close to Mama Bear?
You're pretty sure she's gone on her way. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, we should set up camp. It's going to start getting pretty cold right away.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Makes total sense. Cool. So yeah, you kind of set that up, and presumably you set a watch, somebody to keep an eye on things throughout various points in the night, and improve on Marcus's fire building efforts.
Yeah.
It's just something that'll actually keep you warm. So you pass to be perfectly honest, pretty chilly evening. But it's not too bad. And you actually discover that the sheets of moss do a really good job of helping to retain body heat. So it's nice, it's an easy sort of, put a blanket over them kind of a thing. And it stays pretty toasty throughout the evening. So the sun rises pretty late the next morning, and it's easy enough for you to get back on the way.
Excellent. I don't think we should dilly-dally, because this young man clearly doesn't know how to survive. There's only so much a rye wolf can do.
Too true.
Beatrice, as you sort of sleep that evening, you dream of you dream of a string of vines, and on those vines grow one very rugged kind of wildflower, and the other one is like a delicate kind of hothouse flower. And you are left with a feeling that actually leaves you almost feeling a little melancholy. because you've never known the Rybond. But so you kind of feel this, even just the slightest traces of this connection that is clearly growing between them. And you feel a sense of hope that actually feels like new hope, like a hope that this boy has never had before, and a resolute desire to protect him from the Right Wolf. Like very much, you very much get the feeling that, like, right now, with the way you feel in that dream, if that mean man with the stick were standing in front of you, yelling and shaking that stick at that boy again, you can't promise what would happen, kind of a thing. So it's definitely we need to go away from here before he does something and then I do something.
Right. Well, as I'm known to have visions, I expect that I share my significant dream with my companions.
Indeed. All right.
Well, we have some insight, I think.
Not
Well, the next,
yeah.
Yes. So the next day, you set back out. Gather your things up. Easy enough to do. As you and it's a little just shy of noon or so. You crest a little rise in your ascent, and you all draw up short, managing to avoid the attention of a small party of large, mostly humanoid creatures with the heads of mangy canines, sprawled out in a little depression just off to your left. Even from this distance, you can see that their fur is matted, and the slight breeze carries the commingled stink of filthy wet dog and stale body odor. Not all of the beast folk are adults either. A few naked pups clamber among their elders, whining plaintively, only to be sent away with growls and shoves. All of the creatures look lean to the point of near starvation, and both the wind and the tree cover are in your favor, and it seems a surety that you could slip by unnoticed if you wish. What I would like is for everyone to give me a intelligence check, and if you have the focus sorcery lore, that applies. If you have the focus military lore, that also applies.
$17.
Okay.
11.
12.
All right.
And we add our abilities focus number to the number that's
To
rolled,
the check,
correct?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
and if you have a focus that is applicable, you then add 2 more.
okay. So that should be 13.
Excellent. All right, cool. It's not terribly rarefied information, but it's not necessarily something that everybody knows. So these are what are referred to as mongrels. They are unnatural creations of the Sorcerer Kings, much like the Night People are. They're one of the breeds of beast folk, and they're generally considered to be dangerous predators and brigands by civilized peoples. You're also aware that especially unscrupulous sorts occasionally are known to hire mongrels as mercenaries, but you feel very confident that this is probably not one of those groups. Yeah.
They don't look well outfitted, and they've got pups with them, so...
And they're thin to the point of starvation, and they, honestly, they don't look like they're doing very good in this environment at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. I'm gonna just through a psychic connection and kind of be sort of quiet and not to alarm our pack of pals. I don't think let's not have a confrontation with these poor creatures, and maybe we can provide them with some sustenance or something.
I would agree that we should give them wide berth and try to continue on our search.
Yeah, I agree with Beatrice.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Keep going.
So in that case, go ahead and give me a dexterity test.
Stealth?
Applies. Yes.
So when it comes to dexterity checks, does my armor penalty play into that at all?
It. What is your armor penalty? Currently?
-2.
-2. I don't believe so.
Cool.
Let me double check that though.
I've got an 11.
Yeah. So you are trained. You're trained in your armor use, correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the dexterity penalty, so the armor penalty would normally apply to all dexterity tests, but if you're trained in it, you can ignore that.
Gotcha. Okay, and then I rolled 13.
Okay.
I rolled a 9.
All right.
I mean, my total is a 9.
Total is a 9. Okay.
Super stealthy, guys.
No.
What was Beatrice's total?
God, what did I say? 11.
11. All right.
And mine was 13.
13. Excellent. Well, now we are going to see what they end up with. Oh, wow. They are clearly very focused on whatever it is that has their attention, and do not notice your group as you slip by.
Perfect.
At one point, Jansen steps on something and there's a crack, and you do notice the mongrels sort of looking up in that direction. But they also seem a little wary, maybe they're aware that there's been a very large bear wandering around as well, and they do not seem inclined to investigate it. So. Indeed. So you continue on your way. The climb is taking you higher, and you basically leave the forest proper behind and get into the lower slopes of this mountain. Now, there's still a bunch of scrub pine and that sort of thing all over the place. So the narrow trail into the mountains has been this pretty sharp but not terribly interesting ascent so far. But that changes as you round a turn and find the way ahead closed off with a precarious pile of stones. The rubble, which looks to have tumbled down recently, covers the path. And so the path is actually kind of leading around a wall. So you've got a wall on one side and then a long drop off the other. And the rocks have come down and sort of clogged that little L-shaped area of passage. There doesn't appear to be any easy way around. And honestly, you're unsure that the last fork in the path you took, which was a couple of hours behind you, you're not even sure that the other direction would take you where you're trying to go. The only reasonable and timely way ahead is to try and navigate this hazard.
Yikes.
What would you like to do?
Can I do? So I want to see if I can sense any mines around me or any
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get your Arcana up and running. And so the arcana in question is Sense Minds, correct?
Let me double check. I don't think I have that. Hold on. So more so, I was thinking back to kind of like the base sort of skills that we've got to see if I could sense anybody around or in near us or.
So you can make a mundane perception check if you would like to just sort of look around. Psychic contact can't quite be used to sense the minds of people that you can't see.
I gotcha.
At least one of you does have sense minds, though.
Oh, I do have sense minds. Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Good. I will.
All right. In that case, give me a perception check. If you have the psychic focus, it applies to this roll.
All right. So it's 10, and this was what was the check again? I'm sorry. It was
it's a perception check.
Perception. So that's 12. 6.
Okay.
10, yeah.
So you can actually pretty clearly pick out the minds. You extend your awareness, your psychic awareness, out to about 30 feet out from where you're at. So easily enough to reach the other side of that, and in every direction. And as far as you can tell, the only thoughts are coming from your travel companions.
All right. Well, seems clear. Sounded a little dubious. And the rocks that kind of cover the way, can we climb over them? Is this more of like?
You could try and climb over them. You could, pardon me, I beg your pardon. You could also try and shove them out of the way. There are sort of dangers involved with either approach.
Would I be able to move them?
Physically?
It says that I can move objects. But
Aha!
I don't
It's the
know if I could
arcanum.
move
Yeah.
rock.
I'm not so much a mountaineering wolf.
as it turns out. They're like, listen, there's not a single leaf here. We are not All right. So, you are fairly certain you could dislodge some of the rocks. And it's the sort of thing that you could sort of do over and over. There's one difficulty with that, though. So move object as an arcanum has the potential to inflict what is called fatigue. So the magic in Blu Rose is something that you can actually do over and over and over if you want to. The only limitation is that certain arcana can inflict fatigue, so you begin to grow weary as you exert these arcane resources. Now, a certain number of checks can be used to clear the rubble, and if that's the route that y'all wanted to go, you could certainly use your move object arcanum as the check that you use to help do that.
Can we coordinate with, I'll help dig and she can help psychic and
absolutely
I
collaborate?
can use my strength.
There you go.
Absolutely. Okay.
Flex those muscles.
I mean, fortunately, the fact is those rocks really sit on this precipice, so it's easy enough to just get them shoved over the side so that they are sort of no longer in your way. All right. So if you're going to use strength, it is a strength might focus. Might focus applies, and then of course Ellen is going to use move object. Anyone else have any other particular method?
Well, my strength of 0 is maybe not the best rock. I don't know what or whatever.
I can apply my strength. I've got a give a strength check there.
All right, cool. All right. Well, who would like to roll first?
I could go with my strength.
All right. So Liza goes ahead and sort of, sidles up there and starts like looking for the best rocks to get sort of shoved off. Unfortunately, she kind of has to climb slightly up onto it because the upper stones are kind of up above her reach there. So if you would be so kind as to give me a strength test, might applies.
Okay, so that'd be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus 4, 14 in total.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So Liza gets up there and kind of leverages up against some and begins knocking some of them free. All right. Who else? Who would like to make the next check?
I can make the next check.
All right. Excellent. So move object is an intelligence test, and the shaping focus applies to that test.
Okay. And where do I find the shaping focus?
So it should
I
your
see.
intelligence.
Okay, I have intelligence, and then historical lore is the focus that I see.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so you don't have the shaping test, which is no problem. You can obviously still make the test. It just doesn't give you a bonus to it.
Okay. So I have 13.
13, excellent. So Ellen pauses for a moment, kind of closing her eyes, and then there's a sort of a shift, almost like there's something inside the stones that's moving on its own, and then several of them just like pop over the side, just one after the other in a small cascade of rocks.
Nice.
All right. Who is next? Y'all have removed them so that you can actually sort of see over the kind of remaining pile sufficiently. So you only have to get one more successful test to get rid of them.
14.
Okay. So with some digging away at a few of the sort of key stones that kind of hold the whole pile up, Beatrice manages to dislodge those, and honestly, the whole rest of them go tumbling down, leaving just a few scattered on the path that are easy.
Yay, Beatrice!
All right. So I do need, however, for Ellen to give me a fatigue check. So this is a willpower test. Oops, hold on just 1 second. This is a willpower test, and if you have the what is the self-discipline? So self-discipline focus applies to this willpower test. Basically, you need to get on this test the number that you rolled on your move object test or higher in order to avoid taking fatigue.
Well, I have 13 on that test as well.
Nice, excellent. So it's a little harrowing, but nothing exactly exhausting. You're like, okay, that was my good psychic workout for the day, kind of a thing. All right. And honestly, once you get to the other side of this little round, you can actually see the outpost in the distance, and it's maybe an hour from where you're at. And you can very readily see why the locals seem to think that it may have been created arcanely, because it appears to have been shaped out of the very stone of the mountainside. Rather than, being built of bricks and mortar, it's particularly its foundations. It actually looks like somebody took handfuls of the mountain stone and molded it like clay to form the basis for this. Which, with three adepts in the party, you're all at least aware of. There is a shaping arcanum that can do exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you crest the final rise, it's mid getting to late afternoon. The sort of waning light of the setting sun falls on a squadron of utterly motionless skeletal soldiers, ringing one of the outpost's outer structures. Their torn and faded Kernish livery flapping softly in the wind. Rotting leather armor and rusting chainmail hangs from bony frames, though any weapons they may have once wielded seem to have succumbed to corrosion over the years and been discarded. Apparently taking notice of your approach, they all turn as one to face you, stretching forth ivory white talons of their fingertips and opening and clacking broken-toothed jaws as they begin to slowly plod in your direction. As the monstrous creatures turn away from the little building they've surrounded, however, you hear a voice calling out through a high, narrow window, "Please help! We're trapped in here. My friend is hurt." Comes the voice of a relatively young man. One or two of the Walking Dead stop and turn back to kind of look up at where the sound is coming from, as the others move towards you. All right.
Getting hectic.
Indeed it is. So, you have about a round or so to make any sort of preparations, and there's a handful of things you could do. You could set yourself into some kind of position. You can rush up to meet them. You can kind of study, you can kind of study what's going on to look for any maybe tactical benefits, that sort of thing. You can also attempt to sneak past them if you wish, although it's going to need a pretty solid stealth check.
No, I'm all about facing these head on. I love to gnaw a good bone, you know. I'm gonna get these walking chew toys, girl.
Maybe they squeak. All right.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Let's get some combat in here.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I'll step out in front of the group and kind of get Ellen behind me a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
I just had this image of Beatrice being like, "Hold my earrings." You know?
Yeah, right.
Like, all the earrings have come off.
Uh-huh.
It's real now. Okay. Let's see. So I guess at this point what I need from you are initiative rolls. So initiative is a dexterity test, and there is a initiative focus. So if you have that focus, you may add +2 to your roll. Otherwise, it's a regular test and add your dex bonus to it. And tell me that number when you have it. Stunt points do not apply to this check.
Okay, and that's our roll plus what again?
Dexterity?
Dexterity, thank you.
I got 7.
14.
13 for me.
14.
Sorry, just 1 second. I apparently have totally lost the ability to type.
And should we tell you when we get doubles?
Not on this particular roll. In general,
Okay.
yes. So the reason that the stunt mechanic doesn't apply to initiative rolls is that there's no target number. So it's impossible to actually succeed. You don't succeed or fail at initiative. You just generate a number.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Liza, what was your initiative?
7.
7. All right. And Ellen.
14, I think.
Zana, I'm sorry. What was Ellen's total again?
Let's see, that's 12. 14.
14.
No, I'm sorry, 15.
15.
All right. I'm sorry. And Beatrice again?
I am in 14.
14.
I thought Zana and I had the same.
And then Jensen.
I am 13.
Aha! Caught him mid-drink.
Caught me mid-gulp. 13.
All right. Well, you will all be very disappointed to learn that the Walking Dead are not fast. All right, so that gives us Ellen first, followed by Beatrice, Jensen, and then Liza, and then way at the end of that, the Walking Dead go. And so there are 6 of them that are headed towards you, and another 2 who apparently go back to attempting to shove their way into the building. And as far as you can tell from the sort of way that the door gives, it doesn't look like they have any latch or anything, but there's literally somebody pushing up against the door, trying to keep them from getting in, and they appear to be weakening.
Oh.
All right.
Looks like we need to start with those guys trying to push their way in, but
you gotta get past
there.
these. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's start with Ellen. What would you like to do?
What is a psychic shield?
So, psychic shield you use to protect yourself from psychic attacks, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so nothing physical.
Yeah, not anything physical. The physical abilities that Ellen has in her Arcana include move object. So you can actually move. Hold on. So you can use move object to do a couple of things. You can actually try and grab a creature and move it with your telekinetic ability. And then, you can use it to take and pin something. You can also telekinetically grab an object and use it to smack creatures with, if you wish.
Awesome.
Which is delightful, yes.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Could I use second sight to see what might happen next so that we can adjust?
Well, so second sight will actually allow you to see the flows of magic in the area and what magic has been used.
Gotcha.
But it's certainly an option. It can sometimes reveal things that are sort of going on here.
Okay.
You can also just take an action to sort of study the scene if you want. You have a pretty high intelligence, and it's an intelligence check.
Yeah, let's do that then.
Okay, all right. So yeah, as they begin closing in, you kind of take a look around. Go ahead and give me an intelligence test. If you have the engineering focus, it will apply.
I have 10.
Okay. Total of a 10, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, looking around, a lot of this area is sort of falling apart, and a lot of the flagstones have been moved. And in fact, you actually can see the kind of wall that the skeletons are currently walking next to, or actually will be at as they meet you. So basically next round. One of them has a large stone that has really, really been worn loose by the elements. And you're actually pretty sure that if you had got a pretty nice solid grip on it with move object, you could probably drop that down and nail at least one of those skeletons, possibly more.
Okay.
All right. but that will be your action this time around, Beatrice.
I would like to charge. I want them
Okay.
to see, a wolf-shaped missile coming in their direction. And
Yes.
my intention is to bowl into and knock down, like just charge through whatever's in front of me.
Totally. All right. So go ahead. And yeah, so you can close with them very easily. And go ahead and give me a let's see. So you're looking to just kind of bowl through them?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and give me a fighting test?
Happy to. All right. Whoops. Oh, don't want that. Okay. That's a 12. A 12.
Okay. So in combat, when you make an attack roll of some kind, your target number to hit is actually the defense of your opponent in question. A 12 is more than sufficient to nail one of these skeletons, and you, knock it down. Let's see. We're gonna do this. Go ahead and roll. Go ahead and roll 1d3. And so mostly it is kind of knocking it to the ground, but it'll inflict a little bit of damage as well.
Where am I doing that roll?
Honestly, if you want, just do the A colon test and just use whatever the first die is.
Sounds good. Well, 1. I mean,
Okay.
I rolled a 2, but
It's true, yeah. All right.
but he's prone
Right.
or
Exactly.
supine. I forget.
I forget the difference also, and since I'm the narrator, it clearly doesn't matter. So. All right. So, basically, as long as this one is prone, any character making a melee attack against them is going to get a bonus to their attack roll. All right. That brings us to Jensen.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what I should do. Most of my skills are really about hearts and minds.
It's true. Sadly, things that
Right.
these entirely lack.
Yeah.
Particular
You're not going to
enemy.
convince them to be good.
I feel you, Jensen.
and I've got what amounts to a walking stick and a strength hero.
No.
I feel as though I might. I'm gonna bide my time on this particular show, and
All right. No problem.
something tricky I can do later.
Okay. Pardon me, if you like. So you can take the
Aim? Guard up?
Not
Sorry.
working.
Hey.
Yes. So one of your other options, if you wanted to, would be to take the aid ally action. So that maybe if your combat rolls aren't that great, you can actually still step up, kind of, take up some attention from the enemy and actually boost the assistance, provide assistance to one of your allies.
I would like to do that.
Okay.
You can be a distraction.
On some level, yeah. On some level. So go ahead and choose one of your allies. That ally will gain a +2 bonus on the next test of their choice, and a bonus minor action. So every round in combat, I'm sorry, pardon me. Just 1 second. My train of thought has completely derailed.
You have minor actions and major actions.
Yes. Yes, you have one of each, basically, during combat. And if you look at the back of the character, or the further pages on your character sheet, there's a page that gives what the major actions and the minor actions are.
Gotcha.
If you need a little guidance in choosing through those things. All right.
Well,
Well, I recommend. Oh, sorry.
So this is something I can do right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what's the mechanism? Because I'm thinking what I want to do is do that for Nicole's character, for the wolf.
Okay, yeah. So there's nothing that you have to roll. You just declare that you're using your action to do that, and on Beatrice's next action, she will gain a +2 bonus to the first roll that she makes, as well as she will gain an additional minor action.
So declared.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so where Beatrice has kind of knocked one of these skeletons down and then is sort of like standing on it, kind of, growling menacingly at the others that are nearby and starting to reach for her, Jensen comes running up and starts, sort of poking at some of the others with that walking stick of his. All right, Liza.
Okay. How does Beatrice feel about having her kills stolen? Like, I feel like this is something that we would have had a conversation about in the past. Don't take my shit.
No, it's okay. It's okay. There are plenty of chew toys to be had.
No, that is true. I'll let the one that she knocked down to her. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to charge.
Okay.
So that would give me a +1 bonus to my attack roll.
Indeed it does.
And then I would want to burn 1 conviction to surge to get a second attack in there on another one.
All right.
Get in there swinging my axe around like no one's business.
All right.
I'm keeping my wolf head down.
That's right. All right, go for that.
Okay, so
that first roll.
the first roll will be fighting, right?
Sure is.
Okay.
Yeah, axes, focus applied. And you also gain an additional +1 for it being prone.
Right, so 6, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14 on my first attack.
All right,
Nice.
more than hits.
Okay, and then damage is 2d6 + 4. Yes, we'll just take the first 2 die.
Okay, yeah, totally.
So
Nice.
8 + 4 is 12.
Okay, yeah, you come in and just a mighty axe strike and shards of bone go everywhere.
It's great.
And your chew toy stops trying to chew you back. So,
Sweet.
Okay, and then now for the second attack, it would be without the charge bonus, correct?
yes, correct.
Kind of like catching one on the backhand now, on the backswing.
That's right.
Yeah. Follow through.
Right, so 5, 9, 12 in total.
All right, that's totally a hit. Fortunately, they don't seem to be terribly dodgy, these shambling piles of bone.
Good.
That's how I prefer them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
11 damage.
Okay, all right. You brutalize that one, but it does not quite go down.
Kind of take its arm off at the shoulder.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. That's what we're looking at. Like it is definitely missing bits. All right. Now it is the Walking Dead's turn. So, we're going to have, of them, 2 of them are going to try and get in at Liza. And then we'll have another 1 trying to get to Jansen, another one trying to get to Beatrice, and the other 2 are sort of, back a little further, trying to get past their fellows to get up. Or the other one, I'm sorry. The other one is back trying to, honestly, it's kind of like eyeing Ellen, but Ellen's way back on the other side of all the swirling, terrifying weapons. So can't quite reach her. At the door, the undead continue to sort of pound on it and like shove in, and you watch as the door begins to slowly open. Okay. I'm gonna copy paste that command because I'm gonna need it a couple times. All right. Oh, well. So its first attack is very sad, actually. It's very sad. So an 8, I'm pretty sure an 8 probably doesn't hit Liza.
Nope, my defense is 13.
Okay. And then 9, 10, 11, a 12. A 12 with the second one, which also misses, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. 1 on Jansen. Well, it sort of like stumbles around and then like attacks you, but unfortunately the limb that it attacks you with, its hands fell off a long time ago, so it just sort of scrapes a little bone nubbin against you, and it's sort of gross, but fortunately nothing other than your dignity is damaged. All right, Beatrice, that's 8, 9, 10, total of an 11 to hit Beatrice.
12 is my defense.
12 defense. Okay, yeah. So they kind of like come crowding forward, trying to like inflict injuries on you, but they do not manage to do so. All right, and that'll wrap our initiative back around to Ellen.
I think that it's time to throw a wall down on these dumb skeleton guys.
Okay. So
they'll never see it coming.
They really, really don't. This bit of wall is rather heavy, so it's going to require a target number 13.
Okay.
On your move object check, which, give me one moment, is an intelligence shaping check.
Okay, I've got a 14.
All right. Look at the brain on her.
Yeah.
All right. So from the back of the group, Ellen looks up, begins sort of like concentrating, and Beatrice, you become aware of little particles of like smaller rocks and whatnot begin plummeting down towards you, and you bounce back just in time for a large chunk of masonry to fall and slam into 2 of the skeletons.
Nice.
Please roll 4d6 for damage against these critters. So go ahead and make a regular test, and that'll be 3 of the dice, and then do a second one, and the first die will count as the rest of the damage.
For me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yep, totally.
So it would be
okay.
the first 3 that I rolled, and then 2 of the next batch. Is that right?
And then 1 of the next, and then 1 of the next.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, it's 12.
Yes, excellent.
And then is that
Okay.
+4? Do I have to add 4 to that? So
Uh,
2d6 +4. So would that be? Sorry for the questions, but is
no,
that
no,
4
no, no.
to the roll that's there?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So the roll that I have is, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, so it's 16. Ouch.
Okay. So that masonry comes down and flat out crushes two of them. Like shards of bone go everywhere. It's a mess. And the others don't appear to take any notice and just continue trying to clamber forward. Although, let's see, one of the ones that was trying to attack Liza, the one that was uninjured, and the one that was trying to attack Jensen have been well and truly destroyed. So the kind of last one that was waiting for room to get forward now begins to sort of move forward as well. Beatrice.
Okay. I am concerned about the undead or the dead trying to get into the tower. I see that is at risk of ruining our entire search. So,
Indeed it is.
I would like to try to rush to that spot and engage them to distract them from pushing on the door, even if that's all I can do, right? So
yes. So what I'm going to ask for is so you won't be able to well, actually that's not entirely true. You will be able to get past them. Pardon me, just 1 second. Well, they're too dumb to have taken that action, so yeah. All right. Yeah. So you can actually. Yeah. So, but that'll take. That'll be all you can do.
Right.
Is cross that distance. But yeah, Beatrice kind of darts back and forth between shambling little skeletal legs, and then is out the other side of them, running across the kind of ruined courtyard. And
I'll try to make a bunch of noise while I'm running, like growls and yips
absolutely.
and whatever to attract attention.
Totally. And as you do so, the two of them at the door turn and see much easier targets trying to get through that door to get to the other side of it. And so, yes, you have their attention.
Sweet.
All right. Actually, that reminds me. Because sorry, give me just 1 second. Yeah, so you use a run action to get there. Because you were assisted by Jansen, you actually have 2 minor actions left.
Ooh.
If you wanted to do something with those.
All right. Let me take a look here. I'm going to put my guard up.
Okay. All right.
So I expect I'm going to be hit standing here. I've made myself vulnerable, so that seems like like a good thing to do.
I agree. Okay, cool. So, and then that brings us to Jensen.
Oh my gosh. I'm so enthralled by what's going on. I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should do a thing. How close are they? Because I'm up. Am I up by my wolf pal? And
you are up where they are at. Yeah, basically you're engaged with them. Let me take a look at something here really quickly.
Specifically, a little late to teach them restraint and temperance.
Funny how that works. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
You've tried, it never works.
It just doesn't.
It helps if they have a
not.
brain.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry. You do have an option if you would like to use it.
Okay.
You, among your weapons, is a crystal. A crystal is like about that big, and it's a bit of carved crystal that you can use to channel arcane energy through. Now, normally, you can be used to attack, but it can't actually be used to kill. It can't actually be used to kill people, but the same is not true of the undead.
Well, I want to do that.
Right.
All right, so I'm rolling.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me just.
Oh,
one
yes,
second.
sorry. Yep.
No. Let me make sure I'm getting that mechanic right. Okay, cool. So this is. So you have to use a minor action to sort of concentrate it and like empower it, basically. Yes. So and then you make an accuracy test.
Okay.
If you have the arcane specialty under accuracy, that applies. And against dark fiends and the unliving, this will actually inflict full regular damage, which is 2d6 plus your willpower bonus.
Go, man, go.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm doing my accuracy test.
Yes.
So that's 10.
Okay. That hits.
Woo! And now I'm doing a check on my willpower. Right.
Well, so it's not a willpower check. It is 2d6 plus your willpower rating. That's how much damage it inflicts.
Gotcha. So then the first two. So 13.
Nice. Yes. Okay. So you would you like to have shot the one that would you like to have shot the one that Liza has already treated to the business end of her battle axe?
I wonder if because it's such a powerful hit, I probably would be more inclined to go for one that hasn't been hit.
Cool. No problem. All right. So it is not quite enough to take it out, but it is in rough shape. To be perfectly honest, you're not even sure how this thing is still moving. It's missing so many vital bits. But, you know, that's the nature of sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
And life, really.
You're like, you know what, skeleton? Same.
Right? Yeah. Very much the same.
All right. Liza, your action.
Okay, so I've got the one that's damaged still in front of me, right?
Yes. And another one that's just had a bunch of chunks blown off of it by Kenton's Kristen. He's like, stick, you know what? Boom!
Okay, so I'm going to try and take out the one that I've hit already.
Okay, excellent.
And not going to spend a thing this time.
Okay.
1, 11, 12, plus my fighting is 15.
That is a hit. That's
Nice.
totally a hit.
And 2d6 plus 4. Yeah, 1 second.
No worries.
Let's see if I have this set up properly. Yep. So 14.
Oh, nice.
That's
Okay.
right.
14, yeah. It's basically splinters when you're done with it. Splinters and a pile of old, musty, gross, military uniform.
Well, kick its skull at some of the other skeletons just for good measure.
As a warning. All right.
I'm coming for you.
Okay. There are 2 skeletons left with the main group, and 2 that are moving towards Beatrice. So the very, very broken one is actually going to try and clamber out and claw at Jensen, while the other is moving in to attack Lyra. So, Jensen, pretty sure that a 7 does not hit you.
Yeah.
Not even Jensen.
Man, these undead, they're not the greatest, as it turns out. And then against Liza, a 15.
Oh,
Like a liar.
Well then. Rude.
rude.
Super rude. So rude. That was okay. Cool. Of course. All right. So it does not quite manage to do much to you at all. You take 2 points of damage as like some of those gross, sharp ends of its fingers kind of get in and around your armor and scrape you up some, but overall doesn't do much. So 2 points of damage.
So would my
applied
armor
to your
rating
health.
negate that?
What is your armor rating?
5.
It sure does. So they don't
Not
manage
even.
to get around your armor at all, right?
But it's like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
It is. It's sort of
Scrape at my
like
shield.
Stop.
right. This is gross. Please stop. All right, Beatrice. The first one closes in on you, and I'm pretty sure it's going to miss on a 6.
Yep.
Just when we thought they couldn't roll any worse. And then the second, done. That is a total of a 13 to hit.
That gets through.
Okay.
Yeah. My defense is 12.
All right. Well, so it has 4 stunt points.
Oh, wait. I was setting my defense.
Oh,
Right?
you were.
That was my
Oh, yes.
that was my minor action, which
Yes.
guard up. I add a +1 or +2. I didn't say, so let's take +1. I
Okay.
guess. So
All
it
right.
still meets my.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, if you want to say it was a +2, I'm good with that too. I mean, you still have to take that penalty when you next attack, but
Yep.
so either
Well,
way,
let's-
however you want to do it.
You're very kind. I will take it.
Okay.
When the GM gives,
Yeah.
you take. You accept. You accept.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, so that one just barely misses. And because technically that is a failed roll, it does not actually generate stunt points after all. All right. And that is all of them. So that brings us back around to Ellen.
Okay. Did you say that was all the skeletons, or we've got 2 more?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
There's still-
there's still 2 in the group right where you're at. One of whom has been blown to little pieces by a crystal blast, and then there's 2 over near the building where Beatrice has engaged and distracted them.
Okay. Am I able to use a combat stunt?
When you generate stunt points, that's when you would spend those. So in
Okay,
making an
I see.
attack roll of some kind, if you roll doubles, then you can spend those points on a combat stunt. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I haven't even been tracking any of my doubles.
No worries. No worries.
Okay, so if you could guide me just a little bit, what are my options?
Sure, absolutely. So let me actually take a moment to kick open your character sheet here, and we will take a look. So you also have a crystal. one of those like crystal shooty wand things, which do plenty of damage to the undead. You also have the option of, for instance, using your move object arcanum again, if you wanted to like pick up a rock and use it to bludgeon skeletons into pieces with, or you could say potentially grab a skeleton. And I mean, y'all are relatively close to a precipice. So you could actually, if you roll decently enough, you could lift one of those skeletons up and literally just like over the edge. You could also do something like use your move object ability to like hold the door closed to the room where the kid and the injured wolf are hiding. To make sure none of the skeletons get in there if you wanted to.
Could I throw one skeleton into another skeleton?
You sure could. You sure could.
Well, let's try that.
Bowling pins.
All right.
Like bowling pins.
That's right. That is fantastic. All right. So let me jump to the arcane description of an object, and we will figure out what this looks like. So first of all, okay, well, that's not helpful.
Someone's going to knock on my door here in 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
No worries. Okay, yeah. So what this will take is a move object check. So you won't be able to grab one and then hit another all in the same round.
Okay.
You will be able, however, to grab one and like hoist it up this round, and then your next turn you can then bludgeon another one with it, if you like.
Got you. Well, let's go ahead and do something that eliminates one right now then.
Okay. All right, reasonable, totally reasonable.
Actually, let's do the Kristen then. I'll do the same thing.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds good. It's an excellent arcane weapon, and the nice thing is that the unliving take normal damage from it, whereas most people are just sort of stunned and knocked unconscious. It's actually considered a very merciful weapon. But man, to heck with the undead. That's all I'm saying. All right. So go ahead and make an accuracy test. The arcane focus applies. All right.
It's 11.
Total of 11. That is enough to hit. Which of them did you want to target? There's two close to where you're at. One that's badly damaged, one that's undamaged. The undamaged one has closed on Liza and is the one scrabbling at her armor.
Okay.
The damaged one is the one that already took a Kristen Blast from Jensen. And then there's the other two who are over where Beatrice is.
Let's hit one of the two that are over where Beatrice is and help her out.
Okay, excellent. So with a roll of 11, that hits their defense. So go ahead and roll 2d6 and add your willpower to that total. So we'll just take the first two dice.
Okay, so I only need to roll once and add the
Yeah.
first two die, right?
Exactly,
So that
yeah.
would be 6, and then I would add my willpower of 4
Correct.
to that, right?
So 10.
So that would be
All
10.
right. All right, yeah. So a blast comes from the group back where you were at, Beatrice, and does some pretty significant damage to one of the shambling bone things, the non-squeaky chew toys. Very rude. We could at least have the decency to squeak like a proper chew toy.
Right?
All right, Beatrice, your action.
All right. Let's see. I've got a injured bone creature near me. Yes, that I could maybe
Sure do.
try to
Sure
take
do,
out.
yeah.
I will do that. I'm gonna bite its bones.
Roll it.
All right. Let's see. That
Nice.
seems likely. That's 11, 12 for fighting. 12?
Oh yeah, that's a hit.
Okay, 1d6 plus 3 bite. So just roll again and take the first one. Is that what we're doing? Okay. Oh, that's good.
Nice.
So
So
7.
Yeah. So yeah, Beatrice, you like,
Crunch.
Very much so. Yeah, and give it a nice little shake, and the thing just sort of fly in all different directions.
Nice.
Perfect.
Indeed. All right, Jensen, your action.
Oh, how close is the wounded, shambling mess of bone shards that I hit?
Oh, it's all up in your business.
All in my business.
Like it is all in your business. Yeah, it's
Well,
right there trying to get you.
All right, so if I want to do, because it's so close to me, and I'll do a melee. So my strength being 0.
It's okay.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
You got this. All right, so that is an accuracy check, a test. Pardon me. It's an accuracy test.
Okay, so that's 14. Yeah, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, that's a hit.
Nice.
And that does 1d6 plus 1 damage.
One d6 plus 5.
So 5. All right. Yeah, you treat it to the business end of that walking stick, and it falls over with a nasty crunching of bone and does not get back up.
Good.
Perfect.
All right, Liza. There is one skeleton where you're at, and then another over where Beatrice is.
Okay, I'm going to try and take out the one that's near me.
Fantastic.
He's getting entirely too familiar.
It is. Really, how dare?
Right?
Seriously.
The nerve. 10, so 13.
That's a hit.
Then my 2d6 plus 4.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if this works. Come on. So yeah, 6.
Nice. 6 points of damage. Okay. Yeah, so you, and I mean, really, you're more shattering bone than you are cutting it, but you are at this point, like, lopping through pieces of it. And it sort of pauses in its forward scrabble to basically catch its balance, but then it lurches forward at you again. All right. And it is, in fact, the skeleton's turn. So the one on Liza attacks for 13.
Yeah, now my defense is 13.
Okay, so it hits. And so it inflicts 3 points of damage, which I believe is eaten up by your armor.
Yep.
All right, so it scrabbles
We're
some more.
invincible.
Definitely seems that way. All right, and then Beatrice, the second one that is there, that was not blown to pieces by a crystal blast, attacks. Pretty sure that's a 9 to hit.
12 defense.
And thus not enough. All right. All right, that's the end of the Walking Dead's turn, and which wraps us back around to Ellen. What would you like to do?
So is it just one left? Do I have the numbers right?
There are two. There's one on Liza and one on Beatrice. Both of them are injured. No, I'm sorry. The one on Beatrice is uninjured.
Okay. Oh, Beatrice, you've got someone after you, so let's take care of this. Let's see. That's the one I think that we'll go after, just so we can weaken it. And let's see. I guess that I could use throw object again, or move object.
Move object, sure can.
Kristen last time, but we'll try move object this time.
All right, cool. All right, so would you like to pick up something and smack it with, or do you want to try and grab the skeleton itself?
Probably pick up something and smack it with. I know there's all kinds of rocks laying around.
Oh yeah, tons of it.
All kinds of rubble.
Yeah, there is indeed. All right, go ahead and give me an intelligence test, please.
Oops, sorry about that.
No worries.
Let's see. 13.
13, excellent. So that will allow you to pick up a chunk of rock large enough to do 2d6 damage if you hit with it. All right, go ahead and give me, as an attack roll, another intelligence test. So one of the rocks near Beatrice shivers and then flies directly towards the skeleton.
I'm used to this.
So
random flying rocks.
Random flying rocks everywhere.
All right. So what was that second intelligence test result?
So is this the 2d6 plus 1 or just an intelligence test?
Just an intelligence test. So this is your roll to see if you hit with the rock. And then if you do, then it'll do 2d6 damage.
I've got 11.
Total of 11 is enough to hit these guys.
Nice.
So go ahead and roll 2d6. So, yep, right in the sternum. Loud, nasty cracking sound.
We've got 8 is the roll, so I'm still trying to figure out how to add that. So 2d, just 2d6? Okay.
Just 2d6, yep. All right, so that is 8 points of damage. All right, yeah, that one is looking particularly shambly. All right, Beatrice.
We have one left on me.
Indeed.
And he is injured, correct?
He is, yep.
Then there is nothing left but a little bit of biting. I think we're going to have to do some more biting.
All right, roll it.
I do have a penalty for using my defense, so this may not be as easy as it used to be. Dang it. Or, it worked out.
Or.
Okay. 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. 15 with
5 combat stunt points.
It's a shame. Let's do that though. Let's combat stunt that guy.
Yeah. What stunts would you like to buy? You have 5 points to play with.
I think it is. Just lethal blow. We're going to take this guy out forever.
All right, excellent.
So extra 2d6 of damage.
Oh, yeah. So that means you're rolling 3d6, I believe?
Yes.
Plus whatever bonus your bite damage is. Woof.
That's 12. Bite is 3 more, I believe. Let me scroll back up there. Yes, 3 more.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so you take that one out completely.
And that means nobody's trying to get in the door anymore.
It's true. Yes,
Good.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly. All right, Jensen. There is one left, and it is the one that has tried a couple of times to get through Liza's armor with 0 success.
Yeah, I might want to put this creature out of its misery.
It's true.
I'm gonna go ahead and do another. I'll use my walking stick.
Okay, excellent. Go ahead and make an accuracy test.
So 12.
Nice, that's a hit.
11.
Oh, 11 is still a hit. You're good. Go ahead and roll damage for that.
And that's the 2d6.
I think with the cudgel, it's
1d6 plus 1.
Yes. There we go.
So 4.
4. Okay. Well, I mean, this one was already pretty solidly injured, so it drops.
Nice.
Yes.
And that is the last of the. That's the last of the skeletons.
Yay.
Woohoo!
All right.
Good job, team.
Well. So you get in there and find Marcus. He's looking tired. He actually looks like he's got a little bit of an injury himself. And he's seated over Greymane, who's kind of laying out and sort of breathing a little laboredly and has a nasty skeleton claw rip along her flank.
This is the time where I set to healing, I think.
Okay.
I have the healing talent.
You also have the cure arcane.
Yes, I do. I don't actually know the difference, so I'll rely
So
on you for
basically,
that.
so the healing talent is how you get the cure arcane.
Okay.
Go ahead and give me an intelligence test. Target number is 11.
Lost my window. I think I did okay.
Yeah, you did. Okay. Yeah, and the results on the
16.
stunt die is how much you actually, how many points you actually heal. So that is a nicely significant bit of healing.
All right.
Actually, it's pardon me. Sorry, I think I misspoke. What even are words?
It's at that point of the afternoon.
It kind of is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So it heals the results of the drama die plus your intelligence plus your level.
Okay, so that's another 2. And what level are we?
First.
All right, 3 more.
All right. Excellent.
7 points.
Yes. So so Beatrice gets over and sort of touches noses with Greymane, kind of a thing. And then there's a flush of warmth from her as she sort of moves slowly. And Marcus just sobs gratefully. He was clearly at the end of his wits. He had no idea what he was going to do. He had just found this amazing friend, and he's probably sobbingly rambling this, and I thought she was going to die, and it was going to be all my fault because I said that we should come up here, etc., etc.
Oh.
All right. Well, so he's got some decisions that he has to make about his future life, and all the rest of that. But you have successfully assisted them. And Greymane is happy to contact Frostwind
Good.
to let him know that she is okay. And then Frostwind very quickly contacts all of you and says, I have no way to repay you for what you have done. Greymane has told me the whole of it. And I think that she and her new bondmate are going to come and run with our pack for a while we teach
Oh, good.
both of them.
Good.
Yes, they need someone to instruct them in the ways of the Rybond, because
Indeed.
they will not get that in the village.
Indeed. We will see that they get that, and perhaps when the day comes and they decide that it is time to leave the forest, we might contact you for further advice.
Always.
All right. And with that, you make your way back out, and that's it. Thank y'all.
On, Joe. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Great. I'm glad y'all
Thank you,
enjoyed it.
Joe.
Yeah, it was
So I did want to take a moment to note that this lovely adventure was written by one of our ongoing freelancers, a wonderful fellow by the name of Stephen Michael DePeza, and so I just wanted to thank him for all of his work on this and crafting a delightful story for us.
yeah.
It's good.
These were awesome rolls. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a
Yay,
lot
I'm
of
glad.
fun.
I'm glad y'all enjoyed. And once again, if those who are watching are interested, there's plenty more to be had for Blu Rose. You can find it at greenronin.com or at bluroserpg.com. Yeah, we hope to see all of y'all again.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Charlotte, thank you so much for setting this up and inviting us all to kind of
Yes.
hang out. And it was great to get Zana.
Yep, it was a blast.
Yeah, so much.
It was. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was, it went rather well, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so thank you for everybody who has tuned in, everyone that will tune in, and all the fans of Green Ronin and Blu Rose. This was my first time actually playing this game. I've played the Expanse in the past, so I had a little bit of experience with the Blu Rose, with the Age system. I kind of fell in love with it after the first time. Like, the first time I played the Age system, I was running the Expanse at a convention, so no pressure.
That is
But
bold.
No pressure,
Bold,
yeah.
Charlotte. I love it.
Yeah.
But it goes to show how easy the system is to learn. There's not a lot of working parts, and you could adapt the system to any game you want. Any setting you want to play, the Age system can help. I feel it's more of an adventure. Obviously, it's in the name. I don't know how to fully explain how the Age system really fits in, but it's a nice lightweight system that gets you playing, I guess, more of your narrative type games where the story takes a little bit more precedence over the combat system itself. So we're avoiding a lot of the heavy crunch in the combat and able to focus more on the characters, the story itself.
Yeah, being crafty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
I dig it. Hey, Zana, real quick before we go, I mean, I can't resist, but do you want to just share real quick a little bit about where you're from, just where they can learn more about Brand New Congress?
Please do.
Oh,
That
sure.
would be amazing.
I am communications director for Brand New Congress. We're supporting congressional candidates who don't take any corporate money, real regular working people. A lot of them have never, haven't held an office before or ran for office before. They're just like you and me, and they're just mad and ready for change and ready to do something about it. And you can learn more about us at www.brandnewcongress.org.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's go around one more time. We'll go counterclockwise this time with Troy to let us know where we can find them, who they are, and any cool stuff that they do, just like what Zana just told
Yeah,
us.
right on. Well, yeah, so I'm Troy Hewitt. I work at Green Ronin as the community nerd and communications and really just whatever I can do because I just love the work so much. And I also work for Zana at Brand New Congress as a deputy communications director, and that just means that I get to hang out and follow Zana's lead and all the amazing things that we're doing as we're supporting these progressive candidates across the nation. Even a couple Senate, am I right? Yeah. So 5,
Right.
yeah.
Nice.
It's a lot of work on both sides, but the best kind of work. And then I also get to hang out and talk with folks like Charlotte, and I think we talk almost every single day. So we're BFFs for sure.
That's great.
Awesome. Nicole.
Once again, general manager of Green Ronin, and I noticed that I didn't give my my Twitter handle. It's actually Nick Chick, CHICK. So if you follow NIKCHIK, it'll end up somewhere else.
Yeah, I figured
Not
that
my
out.
fault.
Don't blame that poor person for the things that I've done. But Blu Rose was my pet Kickstarter project a couple of years ago, and I managed it through to its release for all the great work that Joe and everybody put into the second edition. We've really been happy at how it's been embraced, and we're really proud of that work.
And the real hero of the story, Joe Carriker.
Once again, I'm Joe Carriker. I'm the developer for the Blu Rose line and the general developer for Green Ronin Publishing. And I can be found at Oakthorne, OAKTHORNE, on Twitter, and under Joseph Carriker on Facebook. Although, if you find the Facebook of an MMA fighter under that name, that is not me.
Oh, that's not that was your night gig.
Secret identity, yeah.
Right.
Side gig.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Wonder Woman twirl and everything.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
please don't hesitate if you have questions. Contact us. Drop them in the comments, and we'll be happy to hunt our way to them and provide some answers.
Right on.
Awesome. And I am Charlotte, also known as Foxfire22 on the Twitters and other places on the internet, and that is FOXFYRE22. You can find me on the Green Ronin Discord, making sure that the rabble stay calm. Actually, it's a pretty chill place there.
It's really great. It's a really great environment. You should be very proud of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are very proud of it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with Green Ronin on some of the stuff that we've got. Well, for this game, I'm sure that this won't be the last. I've got things in my mind that I'm going to be running by some people.
I was expecting less. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for stopping by my Valkyrie Gaming stream. If you want to catch us again, it'll be a different crew this Saturday at... actually, our time is changing for the next 2 games. This Saturday at 11 a.m. PST. You can come catch our first session of Soulbound by Cubicle 7. That game just came out about a week and a half ago. It is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. But we're not here for them.
They're great, though.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's it. Check out the Green Ronin Discord. Swing by the website. Pick up Blu Rose since you know that you love it by listening to how this all went down. There's a lot of supplements already out for it, which is fantastic. The narrator's kit, we used the pre-gens from that, and there was a little bit of a chat going on early on in the stream chat, and I want to say that the Green Ronin toolkit for GMs is second to none. Like, there is no better setup out there for GMs than what you would get with the Green Ronin stuff. Like the ones that I had for the Expanse and Dragon Age, they're something else. They're well-rounded, they're helpful. The additional cards that you get to track like combat initiative and everything, they are super handy to have right off the bat. Having pre-gens with everything that you need to run your character right from the get-go, as well as additional cards for the stunts, is well worth the price. Whether it's in digital or physical, I recommend the physical, hands down every time. But
if you want them right this very minute, the digital gets you where you need to be.
yes, yeah. While we work at getting ourselves in a bit of a better position, the digital is out there, and I think it's decently priced. What was like $7-8? I think digitally.
Yeah,
I think
something
so.
like that,
Yeah, it is well worth the price. Anyway, I think we will leave it at that. I hope to see everyone else a little bit later, and have a good afternoon and evening.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.